The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
We hear things in the deep, dark night. We see things in the shadows, in the corners of our eyes. In mind and dim light, we sense things when they just aren't right. Our dealings are not with human flesh and bone, but rather with an essence that defies even the basic laws of nature, like space and time. These elusive selves challenge our logical minds, forcing us to take faith in the unseen, the unsubstantiated. We cling to theory, statistical inevitability, and the imminent manifestation of mystery. Brought to you by WKTV, I'm one of your ghost hosts, Wayne Preston Curtis Thomas. Welcome to another episode of Grand Rapids Ghost Hunters Paranormal Podcast. As always, we ask that you please keep an open mind about things that you might not easily believe as we explore the mysterious. Exploring the mysterious with me for a decade together, Brandon Jose.
Hey, I'm Brandon Jose.
Brandon is now with one of the most well-respected teams in our area.
Yeah, it'd be GRASP, which is Gathering Research and Stories of Paranormal Phenomena.
And they're out of
Grand Haven.
Out of Grand Haven over by the lake, right? And then you've been doing some Bigfoot research with those guys?
Yeah, I did, with Bill and Connie, 2 years ago, Bill and Connie Jones, and last year, and Bill Jones, I think Mike was up there from GRASP as well last year. This year I was planning on going, but I got my car all loaded up, got up to about Belding, had my check engine light come on.
Oh, no.
And it's about another 5 hours up to where we needed to go, so I wasn't, I had to cancel my plans there. But hopefully,
yeah, it's kind of
might
funny.
make it up this year if they do it.
It's kind of funny. Yeah, Brandon and I hunting ghosts for a decade. He branches off into Bigfoot, and now I'm a member of MUFON. But Brandon is in this book, Haunted Muskegon, and this is one of our good friends who wrote this book. And then I guess you're including your middle name now, Marie Helena Cisneros. Welcome to the show, Marie.
Good to see you again, Wayne, Brandon. Thanks for having me on the show.
Now, we have quite a list. I billed you as a triple threat way back when because of all the things that were involved in at the time. Because you're a ufologist, because you were with MUFON for how many years?
Over 10 years.
And you did some writing with MUFON. You had responsibilities where you did some writing there.
Yep, I was a columnist for the MUFON Journal for about 3 years.
I also booked you as a numerologist, and we talked about the Fibonacci sequence or something, which I had never heard of before then. Kind of expanded, blew my brains out with that. I know. And what else? Professional astrologer.
I am for since 1998, I think, something like that.
So you do ratings and then you post things out of Muskegon?
Yes, I do. I've done a few readings in the past couple of years. I'm back to doing the Muskegon Under the Stars, or the Stars, the Stars over Muskegon for the Muskegon channel. So
I always like that stuff. Interesting to me. Investigative journalist with Muskegon Paranormal. What's that wording on that?
Paranormal Muskegon, and that is I'm a contributor to the MuskegonChannel.com.
And also ULC minister.
Yes.
So you can marry people. I thought maybe you were going to marry our friends, Darren Dykehouse, when he got married recently. Then we could have got an invite. We would have got
Yeah. You mean you didn't get an invite?
We didn't get invited. But
oh, God.
Yeah. And then we add to your list of all those accolades, now published author. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And this is your newest book, Haunted Muskegon. Of course, you know me. I've highlighted through the whole thing. I thoroughly digested this. We got a bunch of spoiler alerts for people. You warned me already. You don't want to give away everything in the book.
You probably know more about it than I do.
Well, I know the book well. I really do. Right. So, I do the highlights. One of the first highlights in the book was, what do you think? Right from the very beginning. I mean, I like this book right from the very beginning to the very end. The bibliography was one of the most complete that I've ever seen, because you must have did all sorts of research.
I absolutely did. Yeah.
How long did you research on this?
Well, basically throughout the whole time, right up to where I had to, get it going and, get it in for publishing by about a year. So
About a year of research. And there's so much. I mean, the pictures that you included. Now, this cover, did you take this photo of the cover?
yes, I took both the cover photos. They've kind of been, gothed up a little bit. But
So front and back. And then what house is this on the front?
that is the Hume house.
Okay. And then I kind of think this is haunted house stories, because it's great haunted house stories in here. Although there are other things, but the haunted house stories are really great. The Torrent House, Hackley, Museum, was it? Or Hackley Library was one of the places.
Yep. The Hume house, Hackley house, the Hackley library, and the Torrent house.
Okay. And then the way you structured your stories, you have a way of something that you followed, a formula. You started out with real descriptive first paragraph, kind of like maybe what it was like when it was haunted back in the day. And then you break it down during the chapter to the way things really actually are. But I'm going to give an example here. Shadows lurk in rooms, ice cold air sweeps down hallways. Ghostly orbs float over the land, and discarnate voices are heard moaning and whispering. I just love that. The descriptive, the way you start out every chapter like that, you really get us. You really grab us right from the beginning there. I love that. That had to have been a conscious thing on your part where you did that.
Well, I like to put a little bit of the fictionalized view of it, because, when we think of that, that's kind of what draws us in, is the mysterious part about it. So that's what I feel when I'm hearing the stories or reading the stories or the research. It's just like, what would that be like? In doing the research on that, I think that is the North Shore location where it used to be the North Shore Hospital, right? That chapter that you
Right,
read.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And it sounds like it was probably a very creepy place.
Yeah.
A lot of things that were said to go on out there, and still do, even though it's been torn down for quite a few years.
Yeah, that device, though, that you use, it's on other chapters, too, where you really get us right from the beginning like that. But the first thing that I highlighted in your book was in the acknowledgments, lifelong dream. You want to
Absolutely.
expand on that?
Well, writing a book has always been a lifelong dream ever since I was about 10 years old. So I started writing probably in the 1980s, more of a personal nature, but I've also have manuscripts of a novel, a youth novel called Sequence 17, which hopefully I will get that out and published here after my next one. But I did a lot of journaling back then, and I think that was kind of just to hone my skills as a writer. and to get practice every day. But another interest of mine, passion really, is Scottish history, and I researched that for over 3 years because that's part of my heritage. My mother's family, the Cummings clan in Scotland. So that was a story that just fascinated me for so long, and I just feel the need to write this. So
Yeah, the history aspect is great in here, of course. That's something that Brandon can appreciate. 'Cause
Yeah.
He's got his own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
oh, I love history. I love it. It fascinates me, and it's just like I am a seeker of knowledge, or hopefully wisdom. But yeah, I love to research anything historical. I love historical movies. Um, Actually, tomorrow I might watch 1942, which is about the Battle of Los Angeles. I don't know if you've
Okay.
heard of that. We're kind of like taking a sidetrack off, though.
Right.
Yeah.
We won't go there.
You must have had the longest introduction of any book that I've ever read. It was like you could have had 3 chapters in the introduction. You covered a lot in there. Of course, my friends, 'cause Brandon Jose's in the book, so, and then also Darren Dykehouse, our friend Darren with Lakeshore Paranormal, is in the book. And then, of course, we mentioned Grasp and Bill and Connie Jones already. But yeah, there was so much covered in that introduction. You talked about Charles Hackley, like I say, my friends. You talked about SLS cameras and the Estes method, unfinished business. You talked about so much in that intro. It was this book is just jam-packed with useful information. You said ghosts can be characterized as mischievous. Now, has your views changed any after you started researching this? Did you picked up more information on ghosts? You had done some ghost hunting before this?
No, I've never really been a ghost hunter
Okay.
myself. I was characterized as an alien hunter,
Right.
UFO hunter, but not so much a ghost hunter.
But you did go out to Nutica Cemetery, I heard.
I did, yeah. Darren and I went out for a segment for Paranormal Muskegon that day, and we did go in the daytime, so we didn't really pick up anything, but it was still interesting. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to go out there again and maybe do some other boots on the ground type investigations. I don't mind, doing those, although I guess I consider myself more of a researcher than a ghost hunter. So, I mean, that's maybe the part of it that I like. I'm not really keen on going into those places, to be honest, because I am empathic, and I have picked up energies here and there that don't tend to go away right away. So
they stick with you.
yeah. So I kind of avoid that kind of things. I mean, I give you guys a lot of credit that you are that you do that kind of work. So, and I'm indebted to all of you. Obviously for the part that you played in helping me write on Muskegon, and it also has given me a lot of knowledge. Especially about the equipment that you use, and what you look for. When you do go into those places. So. Guys do some amazing work. Guys, men and women both.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then Darren, of course, hanging out with him, he goes to all the cemeteries anyway, graveyards, cemeteries. And then I love that picture of the tombstone that's from Nunica that you have in your book. It's a wooden, really creepy. It's on its side, it's crooked. It looks ancient.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, definitely. It's been there a while.
And then Darren says that, yeah, he that was a picture that he did, but some of the artwork is from a friend of yours.
It is. Yes, it is. So, yeah, the illustrations were done by Gabe Shillman, and he is an artist and a musician. songwriter from Utica, Michigan. So yeah, he did an excellent job. I really appreciative of the work that he's done with that. So
Yeah, Gabe Shillman with Studio 37 Arts.
I think his website has actually changed now. I think
Oh,
it's kinggabe.com.
okay.
So yeah, he has changed that because I think working with professional branding and that. So actually, he's just recorded in Nashville just over the weekend. So yeah.
Oh, there's the picture in back of you that he
Oh
did.
yes, a painting for that. Yeah, that is on the last page. Unfortunately, it didn't make the cover because I guess I don't do paintings so much. So
Oh,
I was disappointed, but it did get in the book as an illustration.
is
So
now
yeah,
which house is that? What?
that is a Hume house also.
Okay. But yeah, I like that. Right behind you, you can see it, and that like moon in back of it. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And one of the amazing things about that is that when he painted that, he hadn't seen the covers, so
Oh,
he didn't know that the moon was part of it. So definitely intuitive.
yeah,
He was channeling the whole vibe of the cover. So
no doubt. He caught the feeling. I've seen
yeah,
Gabe do singing songwriting because you invited my wife and I over there, so to Muskegon.
yeah, yeah. You were with me that night, Gabe.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Enjoyed the
So we
enjoyed the
talked
music.
about your chapter structure. Like I said, I completely love that. Some of the things that you included, you talked about ghost sickness, which, I mean, that's something that ghost hunters know about. But I was glad that you included it in your book, and it's a EHS, electromagnetic sensitivity to high EMFs, electrical magnetic forces. And Brandon's experienced that. He's had the sickness at different places because he's empathic. So he gets that. He feels things extra strong. Now, Brandon's in the book. Let's talk about, Brandon, your parts in the book. Now, you were at the ship.
LST 393. It was a World War II transport ship.
That chapter is quite long and lots of pictures in the book on that. And then you had very creepy EVP on the ship. Do you remember that?
I'm trying to remember which one
I
it was.
am watching you.
Yeah, I'm watching you. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we were up in the. So a little bit of a backstory to that situation was, I can't remember exactly how long it was, but it wasn't. It was like earlier that year. Somebody had stolen some metals or something out of from that museum. And eventually, it was recovered, and the guy was caught. But I don't think he was at that point in time, if I remember correctly. But again, it's been a while. So like that was my kind of thinking because at the time I had I had my recorder running. I had like the headphones on because sometimes because then you can hear it in real time what your
Right.
recorder's picking
Right.
up. And yeah, I heard like we're watching you or I'm watching you. So that's why I was kind of thinking. I'm like, okay, this thing's I'm trying to think of it from their perspective. They might be there trying to protect the ship, and we're going through the ship when it's dark in the middle of the night. So it's something they're probably not used to. So they probably, they might think we're there trying to rob the place. That's kind of my thinking. If I'm, if I'm in their shoes of, okay, why are these people here, at night?
Now there were other things. I think somebody from your team saw a full form apparition while they were on the ship.
There was a couple. I've actually seen a few things on there. One was we were down in the engine room, and it was me and one of my other team members. We both seen like there's basically like the big motors or generators or whatever that are there, like in this room, and like in the back of it, you can see almost kind of like the outline of like shoulders up to like the head, like a shadow figure, kind of like moving around, in back of at the back of the room. and my camera you could kind of catch a little bit of like the shadow moving, but not as well as like what I could see at the time, because the camera doesn't pick it up as well. And then I know I seen this was further up in the ship, of almost like a type of fog over like the stairwell, over one of the stairwells, going up to like where the kitchen area was.
Oh, that's pretty.
But it wasn't
good.
like in like a human form. But it was like a mist.
Okay, yeah, that's
So,
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, this was an event that Grass put on
Mm-hmm.
to promote para-unity.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, Marie, have you been on the ship?
Yes, I have. I took the photographs that are in the book.
Okay. And
Ship.
then I like your description. You talk about the emotions. This ship was used as a hospital ship at one time, some of the things that it's done. But you talk about the loss, the sadness, the despair, and the happiness and hope, the different spectrum of emotions that were on that ship. It's no wonder there's still residual energy and all the relics that are in this museum that are there. It's no wonder there's ghosts hanging out on that ship. And then this is docked right in Muskegon,
Yes, it is.
Michigan.
At the Mart Dock. And they do tours. I'm not quite sure when it opens up, but it is a fascinating museum for anybody that's interested in, maritime or World War II history. Even if you don't prescribe to the whole ghost thing, yeah, it's an amazing place. Or if you have family members that were in the military, it's fascinating, and you can feel the energy when you walk into it. It's just it's definitely awe-inspiring. But I felt a lot of energy just the first time walking in there, and that was my first video and episode for Paranormal Muskegon was the LST ship. So the first time I walked into it, especially going up the gangplank, I said, this feels familiar to me. I just feel like I've been here before. And, I continued to feel that, and you can just feel the energy from the artifacts that are there. And you have to realize that, what the people went through, at that time, World War II being D-Day, they were there, on D-Day. So I was very much, it was an honor actually to be there and to feel that energy and understand more about what the whole ship was about and their stories. So.
Yeah, the LST 393, it's a museum, so it's open to the public. I guess it'd be family friendly, all ages.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, it is. It's 6 decks, I think, on the ship. And obviously you can go down in the engine room. I did feel rather it's oppressive down there. And when you walk in, you can smell just the oils, from the engine. But when I did go down there, the tour, I was by myself, and there was no one at all in the engine room. And when I got to the back part, just, when you couldn't go any further, I think there's a room off from there in the engine room. But there was a section there that I just felt that I didn't want to get any closer to it. And I did get a couple of photographs that were a little strange to me. And I don't know if they show a ghost, but when I took the photo, the first photo shows like a woman standing, a side view, because the second picture I took, it was gone. So I don't know if that's a shadow or if I just picked up an apparition. So I just thought it was interesting. I'm not saying it's ghosts, but could have been a ghost.
You've been on this show, I guess, about 4 times, and then you were on my other show, Cryptic Frequencies. So we thought we knew you pretty well, except I learned new things now with your book. You're from You are from a place, and I'm not kidding, that's called Ghost Town, Texas. I thought I thought you were making this up.
It's actually it's a barrio in Laredo, Texas, or used to be. It's called a neighborhood now. It's not called a barrio, but yeah, it's from Ghost Town. So
Isn't that something? There's some synchronicities going on here.
I didn't realize that till a few years ago because my brother is older than me. And he's the one that told me that.
That's funny. I thought I knew you pretty well until I found that out. And then, being a numerologist, I noticed something in your book. The number 13.
13 chapters.
13 chapters.
Of course.
You were 13 years old
Oh, yeah.
when you kind of got a book that had different topics, UFOs, witches, ghosts, and that kind of sets your pace right there from the time you were 13.
That's true. It definitely set me on a kind of a path of doing more, research and reading books on that. I guess I've always been, interested in any of the anything mysterious or just bizarre of that nature since I was really young. I kind of grew up in that. Well, I grew up in a family that, we believed in things like second sight. It was just part of, who we are, that had, dreams that of the future or things like that. My grandmother always told us a story about seeing frogs fall from the sky. No, I believe it was either fish or frogs, but that she had actually seen that when she was younger. So of course, and I'm trying to figure out how that could happen. And then I've seen UFOs, since I was quite young. So I've had those experiences too. So all of that has just been part of the just my path into the unknown, I guess.
But it was just curious. The 13s, you started when you were 13. The Hackley House, 13 different colors.
That's true. Yeah.
Captain Santa and the unlucky 13 crew members.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the superstition about the number 13, but in numerology or, in the mystic view, number 13 isn't unlucky. It's just that if you don't know how to use it, the luck of the 13, it can turn bad. It's because it's a karmic number.
Karmic, right.
And it's a materialistic number. So if you don't know how to handle the good that comes from the luck of the 13, then, karma will get you and,
right.
will take a downturn. So that's the thing with the number 13. Our view and being told that it was unlucky is actually just a way of, maybe the religious powers that be in the past didn't want people to know that. So.
Oh yeah. Well, there's Friday the 13th. A lot of countries do not use 13 for streets, floors, apartments. Yeah, they don't even use 13. And you go in the elevator and there's no 13. When you get on the elevator, there is no 13. But like you said, it's a karmic number. It can mean good luck, prosperity, change, positive outlook, and love connection. So I don't know. It's not a love story here, but
I know. I'm getting married on Friday the 13th in October. So
there we go. Well, think of the good part in the good karma.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I'd love to do a gothic wedding for you.
We're actually doing like a Harry Potter thing.
Congratulations,
so
by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
and then there was like a lot of like the 13th. A lot of it went to because that's like when the French king like made the Pope to go after the Knights Templar, and like a bunch of them were like captured and like tortured, or I think, or executed on a Friday the 13th. So that's kind of where that is believed to have kind of come from, that it was bad luck.
Oh,
Because for
okay.
them it was bad luck, but
Definitely bad luck for him. Yeah, he was basically barbecued. It was
yeah,
um Depends. I can't think of his last name. But yeah, it's pretty heinous what they did to him.
yeah,
Well, they rounded them all. They rounded them all up. I believe it was March 13th, the year 1306. That they rounded all of the Knights Templars up all over the world, all in the one day. So.
Oh, okay. And then there were
Well,
13 at the Last Supper. And apparently the last person that showed up, there was something about that person too. But the only other 13 that I could come up with in the book, though, is a stretch, and it's the Torrent House. There's actually 31 rooms in the Torrent House. You have to invert that to come up with 13, but still, that's a lot of 13s, 13 chapters.
Numerologist, because it still adds to 4. So.
Oh, okay. All right. But I thought that was interesting that I discovered that in your book, and you being a numerologist, how that 13 just kept coming up. Yeah, especially when you started out 13 years old, and that's when you got your start. A lot of us that are on this show got an early start. Brandon and I both, and a lot of people that have been on the show had early starts, and then it kind of just worked off of that. But you have made your dream come true. I think that's just great. I'm glad I'm a small part of it. Seeing it from a distance has been fun for me.
Oh, well, thank you. You are definitely part of it. So I've appreciated, every time I've been on a show, and that you're, willing to put me out there and talk about this stuff. I mean, I do enjoy it. Anything that's mysterious or different or hidden, it's, and the word occult doesn't always mean anything really horrible. It just means that it's hidden, and that can be, a lot of different things. So a lot of knowledge was hidden from us, throughout the ages, and that, has to do with our own power. So that, we are powerful beings as creators of our own reality. So, and that's a form of knowledge that has always been kept from us. Only the elite type of people, only the ones that some of them used it for nefarious purposes, would keep it from us.
Yeah, well, no black magic on this show. You can't
Well,
talk.
that's good.
Go ahead. You can't
Oh,
talk.
that's good.
Yeah, you can't talk Muskegon without not talking Charles Hackley. You want to talk about Hackley and how some of the things you learned about him?
Well, yeah, can talk a little bit about it. I'm not really well versed in Charles Hackley. I did find out a few things, of him, for the book. So, I mean, obviously he was one of the most prolific and well-known philanthropists in Muskegon, and he built a lot of the buildings. Is Hackley House, obviously, was his home, and Hackley Library, Hackley Hospital, and Hackley Park. He did a lot of other work.
Art museum.
With that. Oh yeah, well yes, and actually the art museum was one of the first endowments that he did for Muskegon.
I've been there. It's one of the best art museums around.
Oh, well, it's considered a world-class museum. So
Right.
we have lent artwork to places all over the world. There are some very famous paintings there. It's amazing. It's a really great place to visit if you're in Muskegon. The art museum and the regular museum, the Lakeshore Museum, which is kind of like all together, the Hackley House, Hume House, the Industrial Museum, and Skolnick House, and they're all part of one museum system now. So you can usually visit all of those, and they're all great. I had a good time just doing a research, just so I could go and visit these places again.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back to Muskegon because I haven't seen all of them. I have been to the art museum. I've been to the Hackley Library. Now, the second floor in the library is all glass.
Yes, it is 6 inches of glass.
It's
So it's
still,
pretty.
when I was walking on it, I'm like, it's kind of like walking on ice. You're not real sure about whether you're going to crash
Yeah,
through or not.
it is a little disconcerting when you first see that, but
Right.
yeah, I've been on it a few times. It's safe, and I guess it's a little different is because you can look down in between the glass, and the boards there, and see the floor below you.
See, I
So
went to
it's
the
like,
library. We went to the library as Grand Rapids ghost hunters, and we were asking them about being haunted, and they're like, "Oh no, we're not haunted. You went there and got a good interview. You talked to the right person. Told you all about the things that were going on at the library. People seeing what they thought was Charles Hackley there, and in the bathroom mirror, and books flying off the shelves, and different things. You got a real good interview."
yeah, it was a good interview that was another one that we did for Paranormal Muskegon. So yeah, that was learned a lot about the ghost in Hackley Library, and I don't know if it's Charles Hackley's ghost, but if the people are to be believed, there's some pretty interesting things going on there. I mean, books don't fly off the shelf by themselves, obviously.
Right.
If they're not pushed, then something else is going on.
Yeah, the
So
descriptions are never the book fell off the shelf. It flew off the shelf. Right.
yeah. That was witnessed by quite a number of people, apparently, several different times.
And people see Charles Hackley on the streets in Muskegon. Also, there's reports. But why not? I heard that he gave 1/3 of his wealth back to the city. All these different buildings and parks and stuff that he put money towards. He believed that, yeah, that was his responsibility to give back.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's true.
One of the founders of Muskegon, really. You talk about Muskegon as being a lumber town, and it was rough back in the day. It was,
Oh, yeah, it was.
yeah. And then
Well, yeah, we're definitely a lumber town. It goes back to the early 1700s, with the fur traders. Of course, it goes back even before, with the Native Americans. But, the first were the French fur traders. And then, the lumber era, came into being. And I guess, unfortunately, for a lot of trees that were felled from here and actually in other counties, in the state of Michigan, a lot of them really never came back, but basically built the world. It is said that I think I do mention that in the book that the trees from lumber from the Muskegon sawmills actually rebuilt Chicago after the Chicago fire.
yeah, I love the history about it too. And then there were a lot of fires because they had these big piles of sawdust. So there was a lot of tragedy that went with the fires. But it was like described as the Wild Wild West. It was rough with this was a rough crew back then. These lumberjacks and that. Yeah. There was
Well, they had to be. You live in the conditions that they were living in, especially back then. You had to be pretty rough, I think, to be able to number one, to handle the winters here. Out there pulling getting those logs out of the woods, or I'm not sure what some of the terminology is. Right at this time, what they would have to do to float those down the river. They would actually get on the logs and straddle them as they're going down the rivers. So it's like,
Yeah, I've watched some
you
of those
gotta,
programs with those lumber guys even. You also
And then,
talk.
and then too, you had to be careful because you had to prevent jams. Because like
yeah,
in Grand Rapids, it happened before. I think the Grand River changed course because it was a big log jam in the middle where it about flooded everything because like
Oh.
all the logs got all jammed up.
Okay. You talk about the Lake Michigan Triangle, and then we've talked about that on this show before, and some of the things that happen in this area, in the pink here in Lake Michigan. Do you remember any of the stats? How many planes or ships have gone down?
Well, there's been, I guess, over the Great Lakes, it's anywhere from 6,000 to 8,000 ships, over the maritime history that they've kept track of. How many have been in within the Muskegon Triangle or the Michigan Triangle? I really don't remember. I know that there's been a few famous cases, and that was the one that we did talk about, the plane that went down. I believe they found the wreckage down in Benton Harbor. That was in the early 50s. But at the time, it was the worst plane crash.
Oh, yeah. Flight 2501 in 1950 is missing, never found. 9 ships have been found when they were looking for this plane. They found 9 ships. Right.
Quite a few of them. There's actually getting to be a lot more interest in the Michigan Triangle. So I was glad we had a chance to talk about it first. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I don't know if that the structure that they found at the bottom of Lake Michigan has anything to do with any of the anomalies.
Stonehenge?
The Michigan Stonehenge, and the stone that is in the center of it, that some say it looks like a mastodon, so which would mean that it was there and that the area was dry land, at the time that structure was built.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've seen some of that, right? And then there's actually like time loss reported in the triangle. The compasses don't work. There's more action around Michigan here in the Great Lakes than the Bermuda Triangle, really. There's more things happening here, right? So much in this book, and you went, like I say, it was haunted houses, history, LST, ships. There's so much information in your book. Yeah, but then you're writing another book. You're writing another book's coming out. Besides the novel, you're writing another paranormal ghost stories.
I am. It's a haunted. So far, the title is A Haunted Newaygo County. So I don't know if I'm thinking there's going to be 13 stories in this one also. Of course, it's kind of like it's your standard paranormal, number, I guess.
Yeah.
Haunted Newaygo County. I tried to figure out, now, what are you going to write about? Because I did the same thing with this book. I wrote an article on you and tried to figure out, now, what's Marie going to write about for Muskegon? But for Newaygo County, I came up with one haunted bed and breakfast.
Were you going to scoop me on my stories, no way?
Only one. Because I don't know what you're going to write about. La Bella de la Riviera or something. I don't even know how to pronounce it. But we might be hearing about that, huh? Maybe.
Yeah, that is one of the chapters. None of them are set in stone at the current time, except the first chapter I have started on, and that's from the Dungeon Swamp.
Okay.
So that's actually a very well-known a story, and that is basically it's centered in the Manistee National Forest. So it's this book is going to be a little different because it is more wide-ranging, than just the Muskegon, because a lot of what I did there was just based on places other than a few were all like downtown Muskegon. So, and some of the houses there, but with Newaygo County, I think the focus is just going to be a little different because it is more wide ranging. And I think I have maybe about that I know of. I think there's like 4 or 5 different towns that I'm focusing on. One is the city of Newaygo, in city of White Cloud, and there's a couple in Grant that were pretty interesting. So, so yeah, the Bella della Riviera bed and breakfast. That is one that basically my really early research is what I'm doing so far is it dates to the 1871. So, and that was during the lumber era. It was built during the lumber era. Said that people have heard, reports of music, other things like that, and ghostly voices. There's, the haunted dam in Croton, Michigan. That's actually a pretty well-known story too. And, like I said, a lot of them I haven't done a lot of, any in-depth research other than the Dungeon Swamp, which, I pretty much, kind of got that one. So that was pretty interesting story too.
Oh, so you give me some research now. You give me some things I can look up now. Try to get ahead of you on your book. But I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it coming out. One of the stories in your book that really hit home with me was the dead man's hand. Because when I grew up, we played poker at my house. So I know aces and eights is the dead man's hand. I knew that. Right.
Yeah,
but then
I grew up playing cards too. I'm from Texas. I could play cards before I could ride a bike.
Okay, right.
I played poker before I could ride a bike. So.
Oh yeah, we played poker at my house when I was growing up. So that really struck home with me, and it was just a great little story that you told. Of course, it's a different dead man's hand in your book here, but we won't give away all the. No, we can't give away everything on this interview.
You never read the last ending.
But I saw, you did Brandon had you on the show before, and you did a thing. You talked about some synchronicity that you had with a captain at a birthday party. Do you remember that story that you told?
Yes, it was the captain of the Milwaukee. Was it the Milwaukee? The Milwaukee Clipper.
Okay.
See, it's been a while. He was the captain of the Milwaukee Clipper, and I'm sorry, I can't think of his name right at the moment, but yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting him, and the synchronicity was that when I went down there that night, that was at the Berlin Sprig, which is a distillery and restaurant in Muskegon. So they were doing the Muskegon live show there for the Muskegon channel. So I went there just to see the show, but I wore a shirt that I bought when I toured the LST museum. So I was wearing that shirt, and I didn't know that that's who the birthday party was for at the time. So when I got there and I sat down, I ended up sitting across the table from the woman that does, I believe she does marketing for the Mart Dock, which is where the LST Museum is, moored, which would, make sense because, she's there for the birthday party also. But, and also got to sit across from Captain McGee, he is he's a member of the board of the LST, and the Aquastar. So they were all down there for the birthday party. So yeah, it's just like that synchronicitous event, happened. So, I got a chance to meet that captain. So I think, wow, what are the odds? I wore my LST shirt. I got to meet all of these people, the LST. So yeah, and I had a little chat with him about that, about the LST ship. So, and yeah, it was really great. It was a really great night. So.
Yeah, I like it when those things happen. It kind of tells you you're at the right place, you're doing the right thing, you're on the right track. To me, when you get that synchronicity like that, that's a sign. Yep.
I always said when the universe just comes together and things like that. It's very cool.
Yeah, very cool. I think so too. On page 106, 7, I think it is, I got here. You say many ghosts just want their existence to be acknowledged. Now, I had that as our final thought when we had Darren on, and I asked him and Brandon, do you think that's true that the ghosts just want to, they just want to be seen or heard, or they have a story to tell? And everybody pretty much agreed with your statement here. But I want to take that a step farther. I think not only do they want to be acknowledged, I think they want to know that they haven't been forgotten, which is kind of the same thing. I mean, when I was doing ghost hunting, I would say, I would remind them, you haven't been forgotten. We're here for you, and if we can help you. But did someone say that to you? Many ghosts just want their existence to be acknowledged, or is that some research that you came across, or is that something you just thought yourself?
No, yeah, that's just my sense of what they want. So.
Oh yeah, and like I say, they all agreed with you. All these ghost hunters I asked about it, they thought that was a very true statement. I think there's something to be said for that, but. For me, ghost, unfinished business. I mean, you talk about it in the book too. Unfinished business. They've got something, some kind of agenda that they want to accomplish, and that's the reason that they've used their will, and it was theirs to do with what they want. So they've chose not to move on until they complete this task. And I think we can help them out as ghost hunters sometimes. Go into one of these haunted houses, if it's not residual energy, if it is an intelligent haunting. Well, I like one of them that you talked about. You talked about the smells in one of the houses, or where they had horses, and you could still smell. And I think the nose is one of the things that has the longest memory. People don't realize when they bring in tools for ghost hunting, your nose is one of the better ones, really. I don't remember which house that was.
Actually, the carriage house is between the Hackley and the Hume houses. It was shared by both families.
So I want to go there because I have a sensitive nose.
Yeah.
So
you'd probably.
Yeah, I want to go there and see if it smells like a barnyard or not. I'm interested in that.
Oh, I encourage anyone to go and visit the houses, even if you're not interested in ghosts. But you might sense something or see something. Quite a few people have throughout the years. But the houses themselves are absolutely beautiful. It's just, they're especially the Hackley house. If you read in there, I think it's like if you worth over $6 million, something like that, if they were built today. Just the wood carving that is done on the banisters and the rails.
Right. Oh yeah, you had one of the
glass. It's beautiful.
One of the things on one of the doors, it was really creepy looking wood carving. It's
the Green Man.
What?
It's the Green Man.
Yeah. The Green Man. I don't even know I don't know where the camera is.
Well, there's
on me.
a mythology about the Green Man. So yeah, a lot of people have taken that to mean that he was into some sort of dark arts.
Well, that's what it looks like. It looks like it is, like the devil.
It's like, the 1800s was part of the Enlightenment era too. So a lot of that, the belief in that sort of thing, Green Man and Earth, folklore and Earth type religions was just getting to be more common, or just learning about it. So I think that might be part of it. I'm not quite sure why, the Green Man is in there, but I think it's really cool.
Oh yeah, the architecture in some of these houses, like you say.
A lot of it. I was just gonna say, like on the Green Man one, like there's a lot of it of like the motif, and it was a really big design thing. Even then, like even going back, like I think even like back to like the Greek and Roman times, like the Green Man was a very common, like even a design thing. It's like a lot of it. I think been like might have been tied with like Pan and stuff like that. So
Okay.
yeah,
Really tied to Pan or the elementals,
yeah,
Earth. So, and a lot of them, it's the anima, that the belief that everything in nature has its own spirit, or not, not a soul like humans, but a spirit, an anima, things that are, they're basically alive. So, that's part of maybe what the Green Man symbolized.
Okay. Now, I think it's the Torrent House. Doesn't it look like a medieval castle? Is that do I have the right one? It looks like
Yes,
wow, I
made of
tell
brick.
you. Yeah, and then these guys like they try to outdo themselves. These barons, these lumber barons. Yeah, I'm going to build a bigger house than you.
Yeah, well, Torrance did that. Yes, he was. That was the one-upmanship with Charles Hackley, who, was his rival, and his house, the Torrance house at the time, was the most expensive one in Muskegon. I think It's made of blue stone. It was all imported, and of course, all of the wood was imported. But a lot of the wood that came from all of those houses came from forest in Michigan. Maybe some of them are from Maine, especially the hardwoods. So they were probably from their own mills, I would think, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, they're just spectacular. I got to get back over there though, get a better look at them. Now,
I just remember one with the Torrent house we were investigating. So they had like a door down in the basement. It's like this beautiful ornate door, and I'm like, man, it's such a shame this is just sitting down here in storage.
no doubt. So you investigated the Torrent House. You had Steve Wilson from Australia, the psychic, our friend over there. Laura Briggs, she's a psychic, medium, astrologer. So you had those guys with you, and then they were sensing some things.
Yeah, so I can kind of tell from my perspective so like that particular night, I was running late because I had to work until like 8 o'clock or something. I had to run to Muskegon, which is a good drive.
Yeah.
So by the time I got there, like I came in, and before I'd seen anybody, all of a sudden like I seen like this old lady like kind of hunched over, like kind of like when you have a bad back, like as you get older, and I see that like very briefly. So then eventually I ended up catching up with like Steve Wilson or Dan, who was our one team member. He was like, oh, like what you just described, like Steve Wilson had just seen the exact same seen the exact same woman like in the exact same spot. And I didn't know that time because I was just walking in the door when I had seen it. So that was really interesting there.
Yeah, and you heard footsteps, and you had another EVP that was kind of creepy. Said, "Come here," at the Torrent House. One of your members did. I know Brandon hears a lot of these things right with his ears without having any sort of equipment to even enhance it. Yeah, because he's quiet enough that he can pick up on that. We need to go into the final thought, and then Edgar Allan Poe said, "You are not wrong who deem that my days have been a dream, and all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream." Now, I kind of hit on this already because the very first thing I highlighted was this was a fulfillment of a lifelong dream. So do you think now you're living the dream right now?
I am. I'm living my best life right now. So, yeah, one thing I want to point out though is that I'm grateful, to have this opportunity. I'm grateful for, everyone that has, helped bring me to down this path. So, I'm really looking forward also to, the next step and, getting paranormal or getting Haunted Nuevo County
Yes.
published. And, that too.
Yeah.
So,
We're looking forward to that too, Marie. Brandon, you living the dream?
Yeah, I was still going investigating and carrying out my passions, getting the podcast going again. Took a little bit of a break there.
Yeah, but like you said, you got some changes coming up.
Gonna be getting married, so that's all good too.
Yeah, I think you are living the dream.
Yep.
And for me, hey, I'm retired, so I'm retired. I'm living the dream without a doubt. Now, so we do a shout out to Jack Bouchon. He was the last one we had on the show. He's a retired radar operator, meteorologist, who in March 8th, 1994, reported the UFOs over Lake Michigan. We had him and Bill Konkoleski. He's the MUFON director on our last show. Shout out to Tanya and Kim, our co-hosts, Tyler, who's in the room making this happen, and then Kelly, who puts it on TV for us. Shout out to all those guys at WKTV here. Upcoming and ongoing, Marie, you got any book signings or anything you need to tell us about?
Let's see. On March 17th, I will be at the Coffee Factory, which is, I believe, 1402 Hudson, and I will be doing a book signing there for the Book Nook 2. And that's going to be fun. I'm not quite sure of the time, but if people want to follow me on Paranormal Muskegon, that is on it's www.facebook.com/Paranormal Muskegon. And I also post updates, for, the show from the Muskegon channel. If they want to purchase my book, they could contact me there and you can get a signed copy. Or if you want to get it from the publisher, it's Haunted Muskegon at arcadiapublishing.com.
Okay, excellent. Now you do have another book coming out maybe next year.
It's due out in, I'm not quite sure the month, but it will be out in 2024.
And then your novel that you've been working on for what, 6 years?
Yeah, a few, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years. It's done. It's just that, because this, came up, obviously, I did, that kind of put that on the back burner, but I am planning on working and getting it to a publisher, after this.
Sequence 17 is your novel.
Yes, it is.
Great.
And I found
Go ahead.
there was a lot of synchronicities in writing that book also, and a lot of things, it's kind of dystopian. So a lot of the things that I'm seeing right now, where I actually did kind of write some of that in the book, which in a way is it's a little strange, I guess. So, I found in some parallels there, but that's kind of, I guess, whether that was going to be, what people would think that was hindsight, if, it comes out afterwards is, as just a matter of opinion. I could say, oh, well, I did write this. I finished the first draft of it in November of 2016. So, and I've just been editing that, getting it ready for publication. But, so yeah, that's in the works too. And another one called Guardians of the Realm, which is the Scottish book that I wrote. I kind of wrote it for my mother, she's the one that got me interested in doing the Scottish history. And that's actually kind of based on my ancestors. And the 13th century, they were the most powerful clan in Scotland. And he was heir to the throne of Scotland until he was assassinated.
Okay, that's the first I've heard of that one. All right.
Yeah.
So
that's another very common, well-known, historical fact is the fight between Ian Cummings and Robert the Bruce. And you've all heard of Braveheart, right?
Right.
So my ancestor, Ian Cummings, was a contemporary with William Wallace, and actually fought in the same battles as William Wallace. So, all of that, and to me, it's just, I fell in love with the history. So it's just, I just felt compelled to kind of get that story from my mother. So
it sounds compelling already, really.
It is,
yeah. Brandon, upcoming for you?
Well, not until like May. We're investigating the city of Milwaukee, ship again for the weekend. So looking forward to that. At least in terms of paranormal stuff, going to be starting, kind of took a break from doing the podcast for a while, but going to be getting to and booking some more shows. So we'll start having shows out again on a regular basis here soon. So.
All right. Excellent. And then, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens by Sev Talk. She just published this. She was on the MUFON meeting. She's going to be on the show. We haven't exactly set it up yet, but that's upcoming. And then Brandon and I will be lecturing in October, the whole month, almost all of the KDL libraries. In between Brandon getting married, I don't know. I don't know. He's going to be a busy month for him.
Yeah, October. It already is to begin with, but it's going to be super busy this October.
Right. And then, oh, by the way, this gal, Seb Talk, is the assistant director to the North Carolina MUFON. And then, so I guess that's it, except for inspirational thought. And the inspirational thought comes from Walt Disney. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Marie, I think that's exactly what you've done. You've come up with the courage and the hard work to make this dream come true. And you made Brandon a star in your book, and our good buddy. He was already, and our good buddy Darren. Darren loves it. Darren Dykehouse. He really loves it. He's kind of like all of a sudden all this work that he's done through the years, and then he's got now this to show for it, that you've immortalized them in your book. So,
well, it's the other book there. But.
Oh, this book and your book. Yeah. Not that book. And your book. It's validation for him after all these years, because it doesn't come easy in our industry, validation. So Thank you so much, and good luck with your next endeavors.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. It was always great to talk to you guys.
Peace out.
Peace out.
This episode of Grand Rapids Ghost Hunters Paranormal Podcast, located at 901 Gazan Parkway, Southwest Wyoming, and available at 616-531-8300.
The opinions expressed in the preceding program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.